This is Dr. Amy Woda, and I am doing a recording to talk about how to successfully create your 6201 study guide. So, we're going to start out with just kind of an example of study guides that I have seen students complete over the years, and we're going to start out here kind of with an example of what you should not do. So many questions on the exams for this class are going to be application style questions. You're going to have some of the new NCLEX, next generation NCLEX questions. And these are more difficult questions than just the knowledge based typed questions, questions that are based on memorization. This is now taking what you've memorized in the past and now applying it to patient situations and kind of really using much deeper thinking than just memorization. So, for this kind of example here of the study guide you can see that it's very just factual based. It's just kind of listing things off for you. And although these are important things to memorize, just memorizing these things are not going to help you answer a question when it's asking you maybe about a complication of a treatment, signs and symptoms of a complication, asking you what to do first, those types of things. So, and I use COPD as an example here. So, you also are going to see something like this. You have access to this on your course website as well. And this too is another kind of way, if you like to visually kind of look at different parts of a disease process, including risk factors, management, complications. And again, we provide these for you, but these are not all encompassing of everything about COPD, but kind of more the most important topics. But again, just by looking at this does not help you really understand some of that application type piece. So these are a great way. These little concept maps that we've kind of drawn here, provided for you, are a great way to use to guide while you're reading. And you will have to read in this course. If you've gotten by in your other degree or in other courses without reading, you are going to have to read in this course. So this will help kind of guide your reading, help you pick out some of the important topics when you're reading chapters that are very long. But there's additional information you're going to have to pull up and apply. So here we have more of kind of an example of things you'd want to have on your study guide that would be more helpful to you and to help you kind of understand the particular disease process more in depth. So, you always want to kind of start out with, what is the disease process? So, for example, we have COPD here. So, we kind of want to make sure that, it's preventable, treatable. What is it? It is an airflow limitation and it's not reversible and it is a very progressive disease. So, you want to kind of have some of that information there so you know what is COPD. Although we're not going to be asking you questions about patho, it's important that you understand a little bit about the patho behind it. So if you don't remember, here's another opportunity for you to just give yourself a very short kind of explanation in your own words. What is the patho? So again, you understand what's going on with COPD. Risk factors, a lot of times, this is mostly memorization, but it's important that you add a little bit more information to that. So, for example, you can see here that I've added to my study guide that the risk factors that a person has, unless, of course, we're talking about, genetically linked, all of the risk factors cause some type of inflammation in the lung, and it causes the person to have limited ability to exhale air. So we also want to know that, airflow is obstructed, and that's happening because of there's hypersecretions, there's edema, and there's bronchospasm. So again, important to understand how these risk factors are causing this disease. How is this putting this person at risk for developing COPD? Then moving on to signs and symptoms, again, more than just writing down what they are, knowing that this is something that progresses. So if you have a question that's talking about someone with early onset COPD, the treatment, the intervention, the sign and symptoms may be very different from someone who has end stage. So knowing if you have a disease that's progressive is important. Knowing if there's a certain symptom that's first or an early sign. And then kind of just giving more information than just listing the sign and symptom. Diagnostic wise, again, you want to make sure that you know what does the test mean. So if you know this already, then don't add it to your study guide. Don't make more work for yourself. But if you don't know why, you would do a spirometry test or what would indicate that the person has COPD, you want to add that to your study guide. For example, if you don't know what an x-ray shows, that's going to be important to write down, right? Because an x-ray is going to show different things if the person is having COPD, pulmonary edema, pleural effusion. So making sure that you have that written down. And then thinking about, the treatment. What is the treatment? And, why is that important? What are we going to do? So I didn't continue to fill all of this out, but I did kind of make sure that I put in bold here, or caps, I should say, things that, you'd want to add. So you want to make sure, what do we need to know about teaching? Smoking cessation, why? Why do we avoid triggers? What is pursed lip breathing? So not just knowing that might be an answer, but knowing how do we do this and why. So it's really having, the information about what it is, and why are we teaching our patient about this. If we talk about different, diet, what foods should they eat, when and why, exercise, what type of exercise. So again, just making sure your study guide just doesn't list facts. You have to have that additional information there. This went on again to have some additional information about treatments. So again, you'd want to know, what is that treatment? Why are we doing that? It's not enough just to know that they might have a lung volume reduction surgery. Why would they have that? Then if they do have that, what might be some complications of that? So again, moving on, complications of COPD. Again, not just listing, but what is it? What is cor pulmonale? List what it is for you, but then know the signs and symptoms of it, because your question might be saying, you have a patient with COPD who is experiencing this. What is your priority intervention? So it could be listing to you the complications. And so now you need to know that you have a patient who's having complications of their COPD. What's going to be my priority treatment? So not just knowing the complications, but knowing the signs and symptoms and the treatment. So again, just kind of really getting kind of a full picture of what's going on with that particular disease topic. And so I put a couple other tips here. So again, we're just, for this particular video, we focused on COPD, but you would just kind of, fill this information with whatever topic. So you want to kind of, after you've made this study guide, think about how do you picture what a COPD patient looks like in your mind? What do you think are some of the priorities for that patient? What does the nurse need to know about every single patient who has COPD? And then I really think it's a good idea to study with peers and to talk about the topics. So think about, what's going on with this patient, what might be some priorities, run different scenarios, because again, remember, every patient's going to present differently. They have multiple comorbidities. They may be experiencing complications. So kind of talking about that. If you're doing, if you're in person, you're doing different case studies, think about, what are the priorities? What do you need to know? What might be different? When you're doing discussion boards, if you're in an online course, think about not just the question that you're being asked maybe in your case study, but read what other people respond. Think about how another student responded to a question, and do you agree with that? Why might it be different? What are some priorities? And then, you must read the book. You'll hear that throughout your semester, regardless if you are an in-person or an online course, you must read the book. Making some vague study guides and watching videos, that's not enough. Your textbook actually does a very good job about breaking down the topics and making it in an easy to understand format. but the challenge then is putting that information together. So I highly recommend building your study guides while you're reading, going back and adding more information to them, and asking yourself those questions. Why do I need to know this? What does this mean? When is this important? And putting all of that information together. So hopefully you found this information helpful, and I would really challenge you to try to do this for each topic that you review throughout the semester, and use this to help yourself prepare for your module exams. Thank you.